Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today I would like to make a video about how we optimized our costs related to Azure Kubernetes services, how we reduced from $2,000 a month to $900 a month, and maybe advice I'm going to provide in this video is going to be beneficial for your upcoming projects. First of all, my first piece of advice would be determine if you actually need Kubernetes, because most of the time people do not really need Kubernetes, and they end up spending a lot of money, and they end up spending a lot of energy on the technical problems related with Kubernetes and so on. So first of all, identify if you actually need Kubernetes and do you actually need the microservices architecture, and why Kubernetes is expensive. Kubernetes is expensive because it's a complex technology. It's very useful technology, but it's also expensive because we did use it in the cloud, and most likely you will be using it in the cloud. Um, and it came with quite a bit of expenses, being $2,000 a month. Um, Second advice would be track your expenses from the get-go. We did not do that from the get-go, and it cost us quite a bit. So from the moment you deploy the Kubernetes, like literally that day, start tracking your expenses every day, and then you'll see what you can optimize and so on. Next advice, more uh, technical, but not fully related to actual Kubernetes, would be removing unnecessary services that you don't really need or that you can replace with cheaper alternatives. For example, what we did is we removed application gateway. Instead of application gateway, we started using Nginx. We deployed Nginx Ingress Controller to our Kubernetes, and application gateway is pretty expensive on its own as well. And we did remove log analytics, Azure log analytics, because we did realize we do not actually use it. We do track our logs inside our Kubernetes, and we can deploy Prometheus and so on. So remove unnecessary services. Also, if your Scrum team is using Azure DevOps services, try to optimize your pipelines to make it cheaper or to make it even free, or even go with open source pipelines, maybe like Jenkins or something like that. Even though Jenkins comes with some disadvantages, but still, if you need to, you can do it. And also in Azure DevOps, what you can do is um, maybe track down or like remove some of the privileged users, like basics users and other stuff. Now, next advice would be actually turn off your Kubernetes service on non-business hours. Uh, if you didn't know, Azure Kubernetes is expensive. The expenses is on every hour. Like every hour you're using it, you're getting billed for that. So what we did is we turned it off after 7 p.m. Uh, and we left it off until 8 a.m. next morning, and we left it completely full day off on the weekends. So that really helped us. And the next step to reduce it even more would be switching your nodes from normal type of nodes to spot nodes. If you don't know, nodes is pretty much the virtual machine uh, uh, Azure deploys Kubernetes to, and Azure provides two types of virtual machines. It's normal virtual machines and spot nodes, right? So normal nodes and spot nodes. The difference is spot nodes can be from 50 to 80% cheaper than the normal virtual machine. So that's great. However, SLA is way lower than the normal virtual machines, and Azure can take it out, like literally take it from you any time of the day. But that seems to be okay if you have more than two nodes deployed, which is most likely you do have more than two nodes deployed if you're actually using the Kubernetes for your project, because one node is never enough. Um, because in Azure Kubernetes, master node new schedule should take up the deployments that were left out and schedule them on the different node. So that's how we kind of worked around that problem. And the next step, what you can do if you really need to reduce your expenses to the next level, it may be switching your location of your nodes from your current location to East US, because historically East US seems to be the most cheapest. in terms of providing your notes and stuff. That's it. That's the advice I could give you in terms of reducing uh, expenses with your Azure Kubernetes. Is by switching it off on non-business hours. Maybe not even using. Maybe like switching it off in business hours, your dev environment, using spot notes, removing unnecessary services like application gateway, log analytics. They are useful, but do you really need them? And do you really need them for your dev environment? Those are the advice I would give you. And thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum.